Warning: Mercury square Pluto. The truth you are about to speak has teeth. There is a sentence forming in your mouth right now that you do not fully understand yet. It feels like honesty. It feels like the thing that needs to be said. It feels like the specific clarity that Mercury in Taurus has been building toward all week. The heavy word, the weighted truth, the sentence that carries substance rather than speed. But here is what nobody is telling you about what happens when that heavy truth passes through Pluto's field on its way out of your mouth. It grows teeth. On May 5th, Mercury at 6 degrees of Taurus forms an exact square to Pluto at 6 degrees of Aquarius. And what that square does is take every word you speak and load it with a dimension of power that your conscious intention did not include. You meant to be honest. What came out was honest and devastating. You meant to name something true. What came out named the true thing, and simultaneously exposed the power dynamic that the true thing had been concealing. You meant to have a conversation. What happened was a confrontation. Not because you chose confrontation, but because Mercury square Pluto does not allow surfaces to remain intact when words pass through them. This is the transit where truth becomes a weapon. Not because truth is violent, but because truth spoken at Pluto depth reaches places that the speaker did not consciously aim for. The word enters the conversation at the surface level, but Pluto pulls it downward. And by the time it lands, it has traveled through every layer of the power dynamic between you and the person receiving it, touching every hidden nerve, every unspoken arrangement, every buried agreement that was maintaining the managed surface of the relationship. The surface cracks, and what is revealed beneath it was not part of what you planned to say, but it is now part of what was said. By the time this video is over, you will understand what Mercury square Pluto specifically does to communication, why the combination of Taurus heaviness and Pluto depth makes this the most consequential speech transit of the entire month, and what each sign needs to know before opening their mouth between May 4th and May 7th. Stay here, because the truth is real. The truth deserves to be spoken. But the truth spoken through Pluto's field without awareness of what Pluto adds to it can do damage that honesty alone does not repair. Let me start with what each planet brings to this collision. Mercury is in Taurus. As of May 2nd, the mind has shifted into its slowest, heaviest mode. Thoughts carry weight. Words are chosen rather than generated. Every sentence that leaves the mouth under Mercury in Taurus has been tested, held in the mind long enough to feel its mass, evaluated for substance, released only when the speaker is satisfied that the word is genuine rather than impulsive. This is Mercury at its most deliberate. The blade has become the stone, and the stone lands where it is placed. Now add Pluto. Pluto in Aquarius operates at the level of collective and systemic power, the specific dynamics of who controls what, who holds authority over whom, and the invisible contracts that maintain these arrangements beneath the surface of ordinary interaction. Pluto does not deal in surface communication. Pluto deals in what communication reveals about power. When Mercury in Taurus, heavy, deliberate, carrying genuine truth, squares Pluto in Aquarius, the force that converts every communication into a power transaction, the result is specific and recognizable. The truth you speak becomes a power event. Not because you wanted power, because Pluto is incapable of receiving information without processing it through the lens of who gains and who loses authority in the exchange. You say something true. Pluto hears what the truth means for the power arrangement, and the person receiving your words, whether they are conscious of it or not, responds not to your honesty, but to the power shift your honesty just produced. This is why Mercury-Pluto squares produce conversations that escalate beyond their intended scope. The speaker meant to address one thing. Pluto expanded the address to include everything the one thing was connected to in the underground power structure. The conversation that was supposed to be about the dishes becomes a conversation about respect. The conversation about a work deadline becomes a conversation about authority. The conversation about a small, broken promise becomes a conversation about whether the entire foundation of trust is real. The escalation is not drama. It is Pluto showing you the actual scope of what the surface conversation was sitting on top of. Here is how this square arrives in the body. You will notice a specific intensity in the throat, not tightness, but charge. The quality of words pressing forward with more force than the content seems to warrant. The sentence forming in your mind carries a heat that is disproportionate to what the sentence appears to say. That heat is Pluto. The content is Mercury's. The heat is what Pluto adds. You may also notice that you know more than you planned to know. Under Mercury square Pluto, information surfaces in the mind that was not consciously sought. The specific awareness of what the other person is really doing, what the arrangement is really costing, what the managed surface is really concealing. This awareness does not arrive gently. It arrives with Pluto's characteristic quality, absolute, undeniable, carrying the weight of something that has been true for a long time and is only now becoming articulable. And the third sign? The desire to say the thing that will change everything. Not the measured truth, not the diplomatic version, the version that reaches the bottom of the dynamic and names what has been operating there. Mercury square Pluto produces the specific temptation to go all the way, to say the thing that cannot be unsaid, that opens the floor to the basement, that makes the invisible contract visible in a single sentence. That temptation is the transit's most dangerous gift. The thing at the bottom may need to be named, but how it is named, with awareness of the power dimension or without it, determines whether the naming heals or wounds. Here is where this square lands for each sign. If you are Taurus or Taurus rising, Mercury is in your first house. The truth comes from identity itself. Pluto squares from your 10th house. The power dimension is professional. What you say about who you are this week carries career consequences you may not have calculated. If you are Aquarius or Aquarius rising, Pluto is in your first house. The power dynamic is personal. Mercury squares from your 4th house. The truth comes from the roots. What you say about your emotional foundation exposes the power arrangement in your own transformation. If you are Leo or Leo rising, Mercury activates your 10th house. The truth is professional. Pluto squares from your 7th house. The power dimension is relational. What you say at work this week reverberates through your most significant partnership. If you are Scorpio or Scorpio rising, Mercury is in your 7th house. The truth is relational. Pluto squares from your 4th house. The power dimension is foundational. What you say to your partner reaches the roots of the home structure. If you are Gemini or Gemini rising, Mercury activates your 12th house. The truth comes from the unconscious. Pluto squares from your 9th house. The power dimension is philosophical. What surfaces from the hidden interior challenges the belief system? If you are Virgo or Virgo rising, Mercury is in your 9th house. The truth is philosophical. Pluto squares from your 6th house. The power dimension is daily. What you believe confronts what your daily reality actually shows you. If you are Aries or Aries rising, Mercury activates your 2nd house. The truth is about value. Pluto squares from your 11th house. The power dimension is social. What you say about your worth disrupts the community dynamic. If you are Libra or Libra rising, Mercury is in your 8th house. The truth is at the deepest shared level. Pluto squares from your 5th house. The power dimension is creative. What you reveal about the intimate bond changes what you allow yourself to express. If you are Cancer or Cancer rising, Mercury activates your 11th house. The truth goes to the community. Pluto squares from your 8th house. The power dimension is intimate. What you say in the group touches the most vulnerable shared territory. If you are Sagittarius or Sagittarius rising, Mercury is in your 6th house. The truth is daily, practical. Pluto squares from your third house. The power dimension is communicative. The ordinary conversation carries extraordinary depth. If you are Capricorn or Capricorn rising, Mercury activates your fifth house. The truth is creative, expressive. Pluto squares from your second house. The power dimension is value-based. What you create or express this week reorganizes what you believe you are worth. If you are Pisces or Pisces rising, Mercury is in your third house. The truth is in daily communication. Pluto squares from your 12th house. The power dimension is unconscious. What you say this week is being shaped by something deeper than you can trace. Here's what this transit is specifically asking of you. Not silence. The truth deserves to be spoken. Mercury in Taurus has been building toward this truth all week. The truth is real. The truth is weighted. The truth is ready. What the transit is asking is that you add one layer of awareness before you speak, the power dimension. Before the sentence leaves your mouth, ask, what does this truth do to the power dynamic between me and the person I am about to say it to? Not to suppress the truth, to deliver it with awareness of its full scope. Because the same truth delivered with power awareness and delivered without it produces completely different results. Without awareness, the truth arrives as an attack. The receiver experiences the power shift before they experience the honesty, and their response is to the power shift, defensive, escalating, counterattacking, rather than to the truth. With awareness, the truth arrives as disclosure. The speaker acknowledges the power dimension openly. I know this changes something between us, and I am saying it anyway because the truth matters more than the arrangement it disrupts. The receiver experiences the honesty and the respect simultaneously. The result is not comfortable, but it is not war. The practice is one sentence spoken silently before the real sentence is spoken aloud. The silent sentence is, I am aware that what I am about to say changes the power between us. That silent sentence does not need to be spoken aloud. It needs to be felt. Because the feeling of awareness, the specific internal acknowledgement that the truth has teeth and you are choosing to speak it anyway, changes the quality of the delivery in ways that are felt by the receiver, even when they cannot name what is different. Write in the comments the truth that has teeth this week, the sentence forming in you that you know will reach the bottom of a dynamic the moment it is spoken. The person who comes after you needs to see that they are not the only one holding something that cuts. Subscribe and turn on the bell, because tomorrow Pluto stations retrograde, and everything Mercury square Pluto surfaces this week enters a 5-month review process that I will walk you through in the days ahead. The universe has spoken. What comes next is in your hands.